Hi guys, and welcome to another Sims 4 video. It's actually been a year since I've last done commentary on a video, so it's good to be back. I have released some videos in the meantime, but the last one with commentary was the motel build, but since then I've done a couple of gaming inspired builds. One being if you ever played the game Red Dead Redemption 2, there was the Mayor's Mansion that I've kind of not like for like recreated, but just on my own kind of version, heavily inspired by that. There was also the house from GTA 6 Trailer 2, which is really fun to build. And yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. Thought that'd be a cool build, considering the only information I had about it was the images video from the trailer. So yeah, that was an interesting challenge, but it turned out well, I think. I'll recommend watching it. But they're like stop motion builds. I do like doing them stop motion builds, but they do take forever to create, because you literally end up with like, in some builds, you might end up with 3,000 plus screenshots, so it's just very difficult to consistently upload those. However, doing just a regular speed build today, again, another gaming inspired build. So if you've ever played Grand Theft Auto 5, you'll probably recognize this straight away. This is the car dealership that's owned by Simeon. Simeon is one of the characters in the game, and basically the missions are you steal cars for this guy. Is a bit of a corrupt character, and he runs like this used car dealership, and it's quite a gritty, not very nice. It is a nice dealership in a way. When I say nice, it looks really cool. It's very immersive. It's a very well done build, especially in GTA 5. But I don't know, if I was walking into this dealership, I probably wouldn't trust it at first sight. And that's one of the cool things about this build, really. I kind of built this dealership not to be 100% accurate to the build in GTA 5. Part of the reason it's not is because a lot of that building in GTA 5, you can't even access the interiors, so you can only really access the car dealership and a couple of offices. But there's a lot going on in the build that you just kind of have to make up because you can't access. I've also changed the exterior slightly, so I made more windows for cars to be visible from the outside, just because in The Sims, when you recreate a build from a game or from real life, it often doesn't look as good if that build is quite basic and bare, because it's in a really built-up surrounding. Because there's not really many lots in The Sims where it's like wall-to-wall surrounded. So you kind of have to improvise there and just kind of add that detail in yourself, which is kind of what I've done with this build. I think it looks quite good in the end. But yeah, as you can see at the moment, we're just building the roof. It's a pretty complex roof on this one, but it's a pretty cool roof actually, because it kind of, from the outside, it's difficult to know how many floors you can actually access in this build. From street level, you wouldn't, like, it's almost just one story because you can only really see windows on the ground floor. But the cool thing is you can actually access both floors of the build. So on the ground floor, you've got the car shop, the offices, and then you've got like the start of an apartment, and you've also got a really cool kind of vehicle workshop, is what I'd call it. And then on the top floor, you've got a big open space above the dealership. It's like a double floor height, but then you've also got like a staff room, you've got a storage room, and you've also got the rest of the apartment, which is where like the kitchen is, the living room, that kind of thing. So I'm going to upload this lot onto the gallery as well. It'll be uploaded as residential, just so that if you haven't got the expansion pack that came out recently, which I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where basically you can almost have like multi-purpose lots, so you could have a house and a retail location on the same lot. But when you upload it as that specific lot type, you have to have that expansion pack in order to download it. So I figured I'll just upload it as residential, but it's kind of intended to be that because it's got a really cool living area. Although in terms of this being a retail location, because the cars themselves, they're from the debug menu and they have a value of 0, so they can't be sold as a retail item. At least I don't think they can, and if they can, I don't think they'd be profitable, because you can't sell something that doesn't cost anything, if that makes sense. Bit confusing, but yeah, so you kind of have to probably do a little bit of a workaround there. But that's where like this video kind of comes in as well, which is I would love to see what other people do with this lot. So for example, if you, the other thing I was thinking that would be really cool in this build is a restaurant. So where you've got that vehicle workshop that you'll see later on, that to me like screaming out to be a kitchen in a restaurant. And then where obviously the cars are at the moment in the showroom, that would make a really good like dining area. So let me know what you guys think. It'd be cool to see. The other interesting one as well is, if you can see off to the right, there's that kind of tiny little sub building. That would make a really cool place for like a hidden entrance to a basement, which you could do whatever you like with. I didn't put a basement in this build because this build, believe it or not, even though it's not that big, took me the best part of about 8 to 9 hours, which was way longer than I thought it was going to take. I was expecting this build to take me like a couple of hours, do it in a day, but I just kept adding layers and layers and layers of detail, so it ended up taking a little bit longer than I wanted it to. I also use those black and white floor tiles on the main floor. There is a black and white tile pattern that you can just use, but the tiles are quite small and I wanted bigger floor tiles, so it takes a tiny bit longer to do it that way, but I think the result is overall a little bit better. And also the other patterned one, it's like they're at an angle, so it didn't quite have the effect I wanted it to. As you can see now, we're just doing like a meeting area, or like an area where maybe if you're waiting for one of the colleagues that are selling a car to another customer, you might have to just sit around and wait for someone to be free. So you've got that TV area there, or your car's in for a service, so you're just waiting for them. You can see that I knocked down the wall and then placed a TV. That was actually so that I could set the TV deeper into the wall, because otherwise the TV sticks out quite a lot. I don't do that in a lot of builds, but it isn't. Is it a little bit better when you can actually have the TV more flat against the wall? I just think it gives it a more clean look, which is kind of ironic because there's not much really clean about this build. It's actually quite a grubby textured build. And what I mean by that is I'm using those kind of like wall decorations, floor decorations that kind of give it that kind of grubby texture. But as you can see now, we're just placing in the car, so you've got a few in the parking lot. And then obviously you can't have a car shop without cars in the showroom. So you can see, use the debug menu, just chuck a load of cars in. I also put in a couple of jet skis because I thought, why not? Like, that's that mode of transport that your sim can actually use. So maybe you want to turn this into a jet ski showroom. But it's entirely up to you. Also put in some cool lighting in. These kind of like shelves that you see on the screen at the moment, that's an actual feature of Simeon's garage, although in that version, in GTA 5, they're more like cabinets that aren't built into the wall but kind of stick out. But I thought it gave you that same look, but I thought this looked better because there's not really, none of the cabinets that we have in the game were designed in a way that kind of worked other than doing this. So I kind of adapted it into my preference. Now we're also just doing the lights, so the lighting. And yeah, just doing some more trim features. Actually, what we're doing now is putting exterior lighting. So this really cool light came in one of the new packs where you can, it's like an LED strip, but it just looks really cool, especially on buildings. Again, here you can see I've deleted a wall and I'm placing this arrow. The reason I had to delete the wall for this one is because that arrow, by default, only comes facing one direction. And for the part of the build I was doing, I needed it to face the opposite direction. So I figured, hang on, if I just delete the wall and then I can use Alt to place it, maybe that'll work, and it actually did work. So there we go. Here's another part of the build. Believe it or not, in the actual real build on GTA, there's windows and doors on this side of the building. It looked really strange because I'm kind of, in my head, I was trying to get into the head of the game developers when they built this showroom, and I was thinking, I wonder if they're based off a real building. And if they are based off a real building, I probably should have done that research, but I didn't. But also, it's strange because it looks like it was an original building and it's just been built on and built on and built on over the last however many years it's been around for. But yeah, doing like this really like grimy kind of back area because, let's face it, this is based in Los Angeles, and I'm fortunate enough I've been to Los Angeles and it's a really, really good city. But like every city, you've got good areas and you've got dirty areas. So I wanted to kind of give you that immersive feel that actually you're in a busy, lively city, and that's why there's loads of rubbish, because it's hard to maintain, especially when you've got people that litter, which is unfortunate. But that is how it is at the moment. But yeah, just doing like a rubbish area. I'm using a lot of the swimming pool kind of objects, which are interesting because basically what they are is they're like lane markers. But you can also use them as road markers. So you can use them for parking spaces. And then in the UK, those kind of that yellow kind of, it's not really a grid, it's like a diagonal grid. It's like, don't park in this area, don't stop in this area. I guess it means the same in America, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically, if you see the yellow markers on the floor, it kind of means if you park here, you're going to get in someone's way. So probably best that you don't. But obviously in The Sims 4, you don't have to worry because your Sims can't even drive anyway. So essentially this build, you could argue, is pretty pointless in that regard. But for me, it was just a lot of fun to do. And yeah, I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5. I play it quite a lot when I just want to just do nothing really and just kind of relax. And yeah, I was driving around and I was in the car, the build. I was like, you know what, actually, this could be a pretty cool build on GTA because it's quite a basic structure, or at least it looked quite basic at first, which is what I think I thought it was going to take a short amount of time. But actually, going into it, it took a lot longer because it's not as basic as I thought. There's quite a lot of detail, especially like the roof, different angles here and there, different jut outs. What also made this build better was halfway through it, I remembered that they actually just released I think it's a kit or one of the, I'm going to call it a stuff pack because I'm still not used to the term kits. Like I've always just dealt with expansion packs or stuff packs. But yeah, there's so many different types of downloadable content now for Sims. I don't know what to call it, but it's basically, I think it was restoration, like workshop kit, something like that. But yeah, it came with a lot of cool items that are not technically meant for garages, but it's those kind of like heavy steel duty, like toolboxes, tool racks, shelving, that in the game it's intended for woodwork, but they definitely don't look out of place in a garage workshop. Now, to build the garage workshop, I used some tyres that I found in the debug menu. Because I don't use mods or downloadable content, well, that's a lie. I do use some mods, but that's only purely for video editing or like camera angles and making sure that I can get the certain things. But in terms of build and in terms of build, there's no mods used to build it, and there's no custom content. So everything is basically raw Sims game. So you wouldn't, like, anyone could build this without downloading any extra kind of bits and pieces or whatever you call it, mods, etc. But yeah, so if I did have mods, I could have maybe rotated the tires, put them on the wall, which would have looked really cool, but I don't use mods, so we didn't. Those cables there, actually, the cable that's on the floor, that comes from the Star Wars pack. Again, pretty underrated pack, although I haven't really played the gameplay, so I can't say much for that. But it does come with a lot of items that I actually used in this build as well. It's annoying because I don't think many people have the Star Wars pack, but I think it is on the borderline of being worth it if you are an avid builder, just because of, yeah, it does come with some really good objects that I wouldn't use in every build, but when I'm doing like an industrial build or like any kind of like, what do you call it, like a commercial facility, like a factory or offices or nightclubs, that kind of thing, there's always a couple of bits and bobs in there that are just really, really useful. So yeah, just building some more of those kind of paint marks on the road. I don't know, road marking? Don't know why I call it paint marks, because it's a road marking, but whatever. That's what happens when you do a voiceover. You kind of just end up just speaking and then stuff comes out. But yeah, also, I don't know if you saw earlier in the video, but you probably saw how I created these garage doors. I still find it funny that there's no garage door object in The Sims. It makes sense because you can't drive, but it just feels like, I mean, I say there's no garage door object. There is, but it's a very small, narrow one, and like that just wasn't going to be good enough for this build. So I built my own custom one, and then because I didn't want to have to rebuild it because it took like 5 minutes to build, I was like, let me just, well, it didn't even take 5 minutes, it probably took about 90 seconds, but it was just quicker to copy the other one by creating a rim around it and then move it across to this section of the build. Here we're just adding a dormer into what is the second floor of the apartment. So yeah, pretty cool. From the outside you might not necessarily know there's even a few rooms in here, but there definitely are. And this is where, if you own a lot, this is where you would live. This is where you can kind of do whatever you need to do. Cool little hack in the game is if you build a fence indoors, You can then put the fence trim that goes on the top bit. Don't know what it's called. Just completely gone off my head. But yeah, you can put that there, and then if you delete the fence, it won't delete the trim above. So that's a cool, interesting fact. I did cut some of the build, and unfortunately I cut building this little like warehouse and the gym, just because the camera moved around so much when I was building it. I was like, this is just not... I'm not saying that the camera's not moving around a lot now, but it was like, place an object, camera does like 100 360s, and another object. Didn't look great on video, and I was just like, you know what? This video is getting quite long as it is, so I'm just going to cut that bit out of the build. So that is what we did. But yeah, it's a kind of interesting layout for this apartment. Normally you'd have the bedroom probably above, but I figured it's not a house, it's a car shop, so it's already strange that you've got a living area in it. So I figured the bedroom just worked better on this floor. I just thought it was a better place for it. Right next to the gym, you've also got a bathroom on the other side of the bedroom. So yeah, pretty standard stuff really. I put a lot of these like vents in as well. I thought they were pretty cool. And I put the vent with a vent exit. I don't know what you call it. Like those slats anyway. Yeah, I tried to make it look as realistic as I can. And then yeah, just copying some of the textures to the above floors, just because this kind of, the theming of this apartment is someone's bought the car dealership and it's run down, and they're in this process of making it better, but obviously they haven't got an unlimited budget, so they're kind of like chipping away at it as and when they can, which is why some of the apartment looks quite finished and some of it kind of looks like cool, but it's like probably needs a little bit of finishing touches here and there. But it's got all the features you can need, and like I kind of done this apartment, it's just one bedroom, but it's like a really good place to have a party, because you've got a nice kitchen with a big like open plan living dining area. The kitchen's got all the like good appliances in it, that, well, not the best, but it's got decent ones. Then you've got a DJ booth, because why not? Like, it's a one-person apartment, really. Then you've got this really, really cool curved bar. I actually really like that object, and I thought it fits so well in that space. And then you've got a ping pong table, because if you've got a bar, you might be having a few drinking games. It's a party house, right? So you might as well have a good party. And I use those cool mirrors windows, so the guys in the apartment can see in, but obviously it's someone's house, so you probably don't want the customers in the car shop seeing what's going on in the apartment, which I think is reasonable. Yeah, just doing the bathroom. It's also like a small little laundry room. I just like having these little laundry rooms, because the kitchen was quite small, and I figured definitely need somewhere for like a washing machine. But you can also rip that out and do whatever you want, really. It's kind of like a half-done apartment, but it's definitely livable, which to me that adds a lot of character, and I think just makes it more interesting than like a plain simple show home. It's not really, it's kind of a industrial loft, but it's only on the second floor. Sorry about that, my computer just had a notification, so you might have heard that in the background. But yeah, I feel like I use these L-shaped sofas in a lot of my builds. I just really like it. I don't know, it's my favourite sofa in the game. The only thing I don't like is that all the sofas in the game, they just feel like they're a little bit too small. Like, I would love a sofa that is really big and comfy looking, because they all look I don't know, like all the sofas in the game, like if it was me buying a house and I was buying a sofa, I'm not drawn to buy any of them. Like, I just wouldn't buy any of them. But yeah, just working on the downstairs bit. So in GTA 5, you can see inside the two offices that are on the dealership floor. But where you've got like the main dealership, you'll see in my build, there's kind of like that second bit of dealership with those two jet skis on that raised platform. That doesn't exist in the GTA 5 build. The GTA 5 build, I don't know what's in that area. And it's technically like one of the walls is even at a slight angle, but I couldn't do that in The Sims. But also, because in GTA 5 there's so much going on around the build, it doesn't look out of place to have like large flat walls with not much on them. Whereas here, I was like, you know what, actually I could put another part of the showroom in here. And to me, it just made sense. I just thought it was cool. Like, you've got the main dealership, but you've actually got like a second bit as well. So like a really quirky layout. So yeah, really, really quirky. Just making like this office filled with loads of clutter. So you've got these archival boxes. So I used to work in a tech store, and we actually had loads of archival boxes in the stockroom. Just loads of them. This was way back years ago. But yeah, there was just a ton of boxes in there. I don't know why, but yeah, there were just loads. But just finishing the offices now. Yeah, you got the photos on the wall. The offices, the interiors aren't that alike to the one in GTA 5, but I think they have that kind of, you kind of get the idea that this is a kind of, not a dodgy car dealership, but I don't know, maybe you'd question buying from the dealership. And then, yeah, you got the robot vacuums because, you know, you got to clean the place, not that they clean it. I thought the sign as well that I chose, the one from the retail pack, which is like Get to Work, which came out probably 10 years ago now. I just thought that was I thought that was the best sign. Like, I tried a lot of different signs, but I think that red sign, it just worked the best. So that's why I used it. Putting in the telephone poles and the wires. Interesting fact, if you look for those telephone pole cables, really, really difficult to find in the debug menu because the object is just like a white box. Like, it doesn't actually show you that there's anything in there, so you kind of have to go through a bunch of white boxes till you find it. So really difficult to find, but once you find it, you'll know where it is forever. So I just thought I'd clear that free. Just building the staff from now as well. I'll actually come into the end of the speed build part of the video. So yeah, there'll be some screenshots at the end, but I'm not going to talk over them just because I've kind of run out of things to say. But also, yeah, so you can enjoy the screenshots. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.